because what's behind most of their stuckness is trauma. Lots of you know about the physiology of trauma, but let me just do a Reader's Digest synopsis of that. Okay, we have a distressing event. What happens? The amygdala, the emergency services in the brain fires. No. What happens? We release adrenaline, cortisol, other stress hormones and chemicals. The first job of those chemicals released into the system is to shut down the systems that we don't need in order to survive. You know, there's a tiger, it's just appeared in front of us. To shut down the systems that we don't need in order to fight or flee and survive, those systems are shut down. We don't need to digest breakfast when we're running from a tiger. We don't need to fight a bacterial infection while we're fighting a tiger. We can do that later on. So these systems we don't need are shut down, and that energy is then sent to our big, strong limbs, our muscles, so that we can fight or run. One of the big systems that is shut down is the frontal lobe. It takes up 30% of our energy. We don't need to do higher maths in order to understand how to get away from the tiger. So our frontal lobe is shut down. Part of that shutdown of the frontal lobe is also the hippocampus. The hippocampus, that's where it is, that's why I'm pointing, is responsible for long-term memory. So what happens, we're in front of the tiger, supposedly, just speaking metaphorically, whatever the danger is, our frontal lobe shuts down. Those systems in our body that we don't need in order to survive the next 2 hours shut down. Our reptilian brain lights up and we go into instinct. In a dysregulated system, what happens? Once we find that we are not lunch for the tiger and we have survived, in a dysregulated system, the body doesn't go back to calm. In a regulated system, what happens is the hippocampus kicks into gear, puts the event in long-term memory, shuts the doors, and we walk away going, well, that's over. We weren't lunch. Let's get on with life. But in a dysregulated system, however, what happens is the hippocampus stops playing. It just doesn't work. Instead of being stored in long-term memory, what happens is that videotape loop of that distressing event is stored in the unconscious, like a videotape loop. It's happening now, it's happening now, it's happening now, it's happening now. And the unconscious runs every chemical reaction, every electrical response. It runs through the fascia, what happens in there. And so the body, every body part is responding as if that terrible thing is happening right now. And we get a build-up of that videotape loop when I was 3, and this one when I was 6, and this one when I was 13 and 17 and 23 and 27 and 35. And it's like the pressure in a balloon. The pressure builds up. And at some point it can blow out. And that can be caused by the straw that breaks the camel's back or a catastrophic event. If it's a catastrophic event, this person with a very full balloon is likely to go into PTSD. If it's just the straw that breaks the camel's back, they'll go into anxiety, depression, generalized inflammatory response, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, lupus, other physical illness and other mental health issues. That voice in our head, that's not who we are. That's our conscious mind. It only works 5% of the time, people. That's not a lot of the time. The unconscious works for 95%. It's the big guy in the room. It runs everything. And so we have these videotape loops. Here's another graphic of all these terrible things that have happened to me that have never been stored properly in the warehouse of memory. They're stored in the unconscious, and as far as the unconscious and the body is concerned, they are happening now, which leaves me in a state of my whole being screaming, I'm not safe. You get the unconscious and the conscious completely in agreement. Yes, it's safe to be well. It's time to be well, and I deserve to be well. You do that, we do that in the first session. Get the unconscious and conscious in alignment so that there will be no self-sabotage going forward.